Hi, everyone. Merry Christmas. So, I'm going to try to keep this short, but so many people ask me so many questions about the Lions thing, which is something that is, near and dear to us all in Detroit. The Lions made significant ticket increase that's going on. So, I thought I'd just make a little video and send it to everybody that asked, and maybe you'll care for my opinion, maybe you won't, but I just thought this would be easiest. So, anyhow, basically the questions that people have asked me, and obviously I've had about close to 20 years experience in the Detroit area in ticketing. So I appreciate that you guys have cared enough about my opinion to ask about this. Basically, the questions have fallen in like 5 different questions that I've gotten so far. So I'll try to answer all 5 as concisely as I can. I'll do my best. So the first major one. So the Lions raised season ticket prices very significantly for the 2024 season. One question being asked is that a risky decision short term? In my opinion, absolutely not. It's not at all a risky decision short term. Everyone who received these invoices is still going to renew for next year for a couple of reasons. One, this has been a landmark type season for the Lions, perhaps the best of my lifetime. We'll see how it finishes out with the last 3 games, but even if they were to somehow lose the last 3 games, still just the excitement level and the popularity has been perhaps the highest it's ever been. More importantly than that, besides that emotional part of it, all of the season tickets this year were significantly underpriced by market standards. So anyone who had tickets and sold them to an acquaintance, a friend, or posted them online for resale knows that they were 3-4 times at least the value when you resold them as what you paid for them. So for that reason, everyone is going to absorb this higher cost and re-up for next year. So the short-term wise, the risk of this is basically 0. Second, long-term risk. This is a little bit more of a complicated question. And I think you're probably going to expect me to go to something emotional here, and I'm not. I'm going to try to stick to more reality, dollars and cents. There could be some risk in this type of thing long-term, and in my opinion, this is where the risk comes in. They have a lot of data that they're analyzing, especially from the secondary market, and they have a good feeling for what the true value of these tickets are now. So they're trying to match the season ticket value with the true value of the tickets going forward. And they have enough data to do this. They have a lot of smart people involved that can help them do this. And they are smart people that do a good job analyzing the data. The problem, or potential problem, I guess, for me is if going forward, if sports season tickets start to mirror closely the real value of the tickets, the consumer will start to ask, why are we buying these? Okay, so if the Lions season tickets start to pretty much match what they're being sold for online, or maybe even fall short if in a bad year of what they're being sold for online, people aren't going to buy them anymore. Part of the reason why you buy season tickets to any sport is because you think you're getting a cost savings on if you were to go buy them separately, whether it's through the normal single game methods through the team, or any of the plethora of resale sites that are out there. There's so many options now that if you're not getting a significant value by buying season tickets, you're not gonna buy them anymore. So that's potentially where the long-term risk, I think, comes in. People are asking me, because I've worked in the industry so long, they've asked me if I've seen this before, such a significant 1-year increase. I have, but it's been only for new venues, like going from Joe Louis Arena to Little Caesars Arena, for instance, in Detroit. Very significant 1-year increase. Again, everybody bought in, but that's a new venue. That's a little bit of a different thing. Outside of a new venue situation, I haven't seen this decision made personally, not this significant. It looks like these price increases are between like 30% and close to 100% for the most of them. And I've seen some with people in the front row that are like at least double to triple in 1 year going up in cost. So I haven't seen that before, but as far as the discussion, have I seen the discussion of this before? Absolutely. So worked for the Tigers during the time when the Tigers got good in the 2000s. I was there for 2006. And then after 2006, signed some significant free agents, made some trades, got even more and more popular 2007, 2008. So there was a lot of these discussions about season ticket price increases. And should there have been an increase? Yes. Did we increase prices? Yes. But it was moderate increases, and the reason for going moderate with it and strategic with it, there's a lot of reasons, but the most important reason by far is that that's what Mr. Ilitch wanted, the owner. Okay? He had his actual opinion during that time was that he didn't want to sticker shock his most loyal supporters, people that had season tickets during the down years with the Tigers, people who had supported the team during, those 9 losing seasons that we had prior to 2006. He knowingly took less money from the season tickets than he otherwise had coming, okay? In my opinion, well, a couple things. One, the owner making that decision is really the only way that this type of thing will be stopped. It has to be an owner decision. Two, I think the people, the folks here in Detroit have to give, Mr. Ilitch, rest in peace, some props for that, okay? He is a person who did care about the opinion of the average fan in his town. He cared about the average working family being able to go to a game. And I know that from experience. That's, not hyperbole. I know for certain that he talked about these things. He grew up like a regular guy in Detroit. He was a minor league baseball player. So he had that feeling. He didn't grow up a wealthy man. I'm not trying to paint him as Christ or some type of a saint. Obviously he's a competitive man and he's a very successful businessman. He was. Nobody has 100% altruistic feelings when that's your line of business. But he very much cared about the families in Detroit being able to afford going to a Tiger game. So I know that for certain, and again, I hope that we always keep that in our memories of him going forward, because I think we will find out that that's very rare, especially going forward. Others have asked me if this is going to be kind of a standard thing going forward, and specifically a couple people have asked about University of Michigan. Okay, so Michigan had a great year. They have a chance to win the national championship, playing in the semifinal in the Rose Bowl against Bama. Will U of M take this step of dramatically increasing season ticket prices? In my opinion, and again, I've been wrong a zillion times, my opinion on that is no, okay? The main reason for that is I don't believe that the Lions and Michigan are similar operations with regard to how much they have to care about the specific individuals that are buying, okay? So the Lions are purely a profit-making entity, and if somebody gives up their season tickets at this point, there's somebody right behind them ready to buy them, and they're not required to care that much one way or the other who buys them. At the University of Michigan, that's not the case, okay? If they alienate their long-time season ticket base at the Big House, they're not just alienating a ticket buyer, they're also alienating their alumni, their donors, okay, people that are involved in the university, faculty members. That's who those ticket buyers are. It's families that are entrenched in the University of Michigan culture in some way or another. So that's a different animal, okay? Michigan might raise their season ticket price by 10 or 20% or something after a season like this. That's possible. If the Lions did the same thing, we wouldn't be having this discussion, okay? If they raised all the tickets by 10, 20, 30% even, I don't think anyone would have had a discussion this week whatsoever. But Michigan and the Lions, very different entities. So my answer to that would be no. Lastly, the last question, maybe the most important question people have asked, is why? Why are they doing this? Everybody knows the NFL makes enormous profits even before a single ticket is sold. There's major profits. The costs are very much fixed on the player side. They're not spending much more on players this year than they did last year. Those costs are very fixed. So the question is why? This is where my answer is probably going to be different than a lot of people's on this. And that comes just because of my experience in the industry. You have to understand that people's jobs are on the line, okay? There are people who work in business operations and ticketing for an entity like the Lions. And if they kept moving forward with a situation where their ticket prices were dramatically under the market value, ownership is going to look at that and say, why are we foregoing all of this revenue? And those people won't have jobs very long, okay? People grow up with the dream of working in sports, and they're not going to let their feelings or their fear of people's opinions or anything like that rip that dream from them, okay? If you're in charge of these types of decisions with the Detroit Lions, you've got to do what you can to hang on to your job. These are very difficult jobs to maintain. There's always someone behind you willing to do the job if you aren't. And there's no way that the people in charge of revenue with the Lions would get away with it very long if they kept the moderate ticket prices that they have right now. The only way that that could possibly work, the only way, is if the Ford family specifically said, we want to keep these prices down for the season ticket holders. Okay? Anything besides that, there's no chance. Okay? These individuals who are in these positions have no choice but to make the best short-term decision possible. Okay? The turnover in sports nowadays is enormous and frequent. Okay, nobody who's in those positions in the big four major sports has the ability or wherewithal to take a long-term approach to anything. It has to be short-term. Okay, people go from job to job to job now, and they have to be able to show that they had 1 or 2 years of success with each of these teams that they're working for. Okay, if you're in charge of tickets at the Lions right now, you have to be able to show, I took revenue from here to here, from 2023 to 2024. And if you're not able to show that, you're not going to get the next job down the line. Okay? That's how staffing decisions are made now in the big four major sports. Okay? That wasn't always the case. All right? When I started with the Tigers, we had a lot of long-term employees that took a long view of things. Okay, they had that luxury. They were based in Detroit. Mr. Ilitch was happy having long-term people in place. He trusted the people at the top, people like Dwayne McClain, who oversaw business operations, Scott Pett, who was a VP on that side, Steve Fox, myself. We were all based in Detroit, and we all worked for the company, I think, 15 years or longer, I believe, all those people. And that was true kind of up and down the line of a lot of people, whether it was somebody kind of in the middle back then like me, or if it was somebody on top like Dwayne McClain. There was a lot of long-term employees that were able to take a long view when it came to decision making. That's not a thing anymore, okay? There's very few people in any type of a decision-making position now with these teams that stays with the team longer than a few years. Very few people with any of the Detroit teams right now like that. Off the top of my head, I can't think of very many at all. I'm sure there's some I'm forgetting. You know, there's Kevin McConnell with the Red Wings is certainly one. But there's very few, okay? Very few people that have been based in Detroit and have the ability to make long-term decisions for the company. So that's really, is that a problem? I don't know. You know, maybe. If I were obviously an owner of a big four team, isn't going to listen to me. But if one were to ask my opinion for some reason, I would suggest trying to get some employees that plan to be around for a while and could help you make long-term decisions that benefit your team and your fan base. You know, the owners don't listen to people like me, though, not in the four major sports. That's why I mean, my owner now that I work for, I think listens to my opinion, and that's why I work for him. But, you know, minor league sports, smaller operations, I think different. The big four major sports, they're looking at the bottom line day to day, and they're not really overly concerned with that long view. I don't think. So sorry if this went on for a little bit. That's just, I thought I would, if anyone listened for all 15 minutes, thank you for caring about my opinion that much. But I just thought I'd shoot this out to everybody. And, I think I'm uniquely positioned, having a long time experienced this in Detroit, and no longer working for a team. I can speak freely about it because I no longer work for a team. So I guess in summary, do I understand the Lions' decision? Absolutely. Absolutely. And do I blame any of the employees who oversaw this decision? Absolutely not. No chance. They're making the only decision possible that would allow them to continue their career with the Lions, and perhaps in general with major sports. So, and I guess the last thing I would say is I probably gained maybe a level of appreciation for Mr. I, maybe during this process, just because I know how hard he took those types of decisions, like raising the season ticket prices, how he did take it to heart. And I think, we should all try to remember that just as part of his legacy, maybe going forward as well. So, all right. Thanks everyone. Merry Christmas. Go Lions.